Here we go with the last lesson of the chapter. This lesson is going to be a bit of review, and then we're going to emphasize some different pieces. So first off, an irrational number is a number that cannot be written as a fraction. So when written as decimals, irrational numbers neither terminate nor repeat. So we focused last chapter on rational numbers. In this lesson, I want to focus on the irrational numbers since we've been talking about square roots. So the sets of rational numbers and irrational numbers together make up the set of real numbers. We already said earlier this year that everything we do this year deals with real numbers. The diagram shows relationship among the real numbers. So for real numbers, on the irrational side, starting on the very middle, we have our natural numbers, which are our counting numbers, our whole numbers, which introduce the 0, then integers, we can now have negatives. Our rational numbers then are our fractions or terminating or repeating decimals. Then on the other side here, irrational numbers would be like pi, square root of 3, any non-terminating, non-repeating decimal. So if it's irrational, the only other thing that it could be is real. So basically, we're talking about classifying again. So name all sets of numbers to which each real number belongs. Write natural, whole, integer, rational, or irrational. I want to include real. Everything we do this year is real. Now, 21 over 7. In this case, 21 divided by 7 is 3. So we're really classifying 3. So 3 can be written as a fraction, obviously, because it is a fraction to start off with. So that tells me it is rational. There are no decimals, so that tells me it is an integer. There are no decimals and it is positive. So that tells me it is whole. And then last but not least, it is a counting number, so that means it is natural. So it's everything in the list except for irrational. Because again, it can only be rational or irrational. Alright, the square root of 38. I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so if I go to my calculator, type in square root of 38. I see we get 6.16644140003. It filled up as much as it can, which means it is non-terminating. And I don't see any repetition there, so that it is a non-terminating, non-repeating, which tells me that it is real and it is irrational. It cannot be written as a fraction. It is non-terminating and non-repeating when written as a decimal. Oops. It's spelled repeating there. So it tells me it's irrational, and like I said before, if it's irrational, it cannot be anything else. All right, comparison. We have 3 1/3 compared to the square root of 15. So 3 1/3. I know that 1/3 as a decimal is 3.3 repeating. If I go to my calculator again, because I don't know what the square root of 15 is. So second, x squared, 15. I see 3.87, etc., etc. It did not stop there, but so comparing 3 to a 3, they're the same. 3 to an 8. 8 is larger. They're both positive. So always go back to the original. 3 1/3 is less than the square root of 15. Again, when you write this statement, make sure you always go back to the original given numbers, not the decimals that you just wrote. All right, last piece. I want to place these in order from least to greatest. Express each number as a decimal, then order the decimals. Okay, so 8 4/5. So 4 divided by 5 is 8/10. 8.8. Then the square root of 64 is just 8. 8.3 repeating is already a decimal. And the square root of 76 is 8.7177, etc. So least to greatest. Well, they're all an 8. So if I check out my decimals, 8 does not have a decimal. So that came from the square root of 64. Again, go back to the original. Then next, I see a 0.8 compared to a 0.3 compared to a 0.7. They're all different. So my lowest one is my 3. That one started as a decimal, so 8.3 repeating. Then 7 is less than 8, so that came from the square root of 76. And last but not least, 8 and 4/5, from least to greatest. Make sure you check directions. Sometimes we'll ask you to go from greatest to least. All right, since this lesson was mostly review, there is not a problem for you to try on your own. We'll review this lesson tomorrow, and that's the end of this chapter.